Internet Explorers, I'm Alexa, the resident ooky spooky girly, and today we're diving back into the land of places you might want to visit, but for some reason or another it just isn't a reality. Question for y'all, what would be a place that you wish you could visit but can't for any reason? Mine will forever be never taking the chance to visit the set of the Young'uns show Splat-A-Lot while it was abandoned before it got torn down. But, enough about me. Here are the top 5 forbidden locations you can never visit. Number 5, the Vatican Archives. Technically you can visit the Vatican City and tour the usual open to tourism spots, but the archives have always been locked down. I'll start this off by saying it's no secret I'm highly critical of the Vatican, and I believe they should be challenged so much more than they already are. They have too much control, and they know it. Their archives have inspired much suspicion and speculation over the years, believed to contain proof of aliens and predictions of the apocalypse, and the Pope's secret stash of adult videos. Hey, popes weren't always celibate, just saying. The structure contains 85 kilometers of bookshelves, and it wasn't until very recently that the Pope opened up the secret archives to select members of the public. And even that is still restricted to such an extreme that I wouldn't really call it open. You have to apply for access and reapply every 6 months if you get lucky enough to get granted access in the first place. No one is allowed to request anything specific, but they'll be given assorted dossiers of the most random and heavily redacted information, and essentially it's a take it or leave it situation. Imagine going to the library to borrow a history textbook, and you have to supply the same amount of paperwork that you need to rent an apartment, only for the librarian to tell you that you have to wait 6 months. So you go back and get handed a random stack of magazines instead. There's allegedly endless correspondence between the Pope and famous historical figures like Michelangelo, Mozart, Queen Elizabeth, Abraham Lincoln, and the evil German dictator whose name I can't say, just to name a few. There are even documents about the trials of the Knights Templar and Galileo. There are letters from Henry VIII in which he tried to convince the Pope to grant his divorce from Catherine of Aragon so that he could marry his true love, Anne Boleyn. Mary, Queen of Scots, pleaded for the Pope to save her life right before she was executed. It illustrates the power that the Pope has wielded throughout human history. Some of these documents date as far back as the 8th century. There's also allegedly papal account books, a letter from Michelangelo to the Pope Julius II, and Martin Luther's excommunication document. After everything I know about the Vatican Bank, I would love to get my hands on those accounting books. In 1988, news reports emerged that strange, elongated, distinctly alien-looking skulls had been found during a restoration of the Vatican Library, with many suggesting that those archives must be hiding evidence of extraterrestrials. Perhaps an understanding between the Vatican and extraterrestrials is too far out there, too convenient to contemplate. Except the Vatican itself does not run from ties to aliens. Consider the words of Cardinal Conrado Balducci, a high-ranking Vatican official since the 1960s and close friend to many popes, who in 1998 instructed followers to remember a paragraph of the New Testament where St. Paul refers to Christ as King of the universe, and not only as King of the world. That means that all beings in the universe, including aliens, are reconcilable with God. Heck, the current Pope has said he would baptize an alien, so that's progress for the church, I think. When pressed, however, the official spokesperson for the archives admitted that there remains a section that really is secret. No one has access to this part. No journalists or even the most prominent scholars. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. It's way too suspicious, but sadly I'll never be able to explore it for myself. Number 4 is Snake Island. Formerly known as Ilha de Queimada Grande in Brazil, and less formally, Alexa's Nightmare, it's home to the deadliest snakes in the entire world, and is considered part of the municipality of Itanham in the state of Sao Paulo. The island is small in size, only 43 hectares, and has a temperate climate, with the terrain ranging from bare rock to rainforest. So the island has a variety of vegetation, and no, I will not be naming it again because it was hard enough to pronounce the first time. It's partly covered in rainforest and partly bare rock and grassy cleared areas as a result of deforestation. The deforestation is actually the origin of the island's name. The term queimada is Portuguese for forest fire, and locals once attempted to clear land for a banana plantation on the island by burning. A lighthouse was constructed in 1909 to steer ships away from the island, and the last human inhabitants of the land left when it was automated in the 1920s. Since then, it is strictly off limits to the public, as it is now estimated to be home to 1 snake or more for every square meter of the island, of which there are 430,000 square meters. I don't like that math, and now I get where the Indiana Jones story got the inspiration for their snake pit. And they aren't just some harmless grass snakes that only frighten you with their look but can't cause damage. The snakes living on this island are among the world's most dangerous species, specifically the golden lancehead viper, whose venom melts flesh around the bite. It is estimated that there are approximately 4,000 lanceheads alone on the island, and since that's the entire population of the species in the world, they're technically an endangered species. The vipers mainly eat the migratory birds that visit the island, and they've evolved a venomous mite, like I said, squid, strong enough to take down their prey before they can fly away. The snakes became trapped on the island thousands of years ago following the end of the last ice age, when rising ocean levels disconnected the island from the mainland. The ensuing evolutionary pressure allowed the snakes to adapt to their new environment, increasing rapidly in population and rendering the island dangerous to public visitation. The snakes are so dangerous that the Brazilian government has forbidden people from visiting the area. Only qualified researchers from or authorized by ICMBio, which stands for the Chico Mendes Institute of Biodiversity Conservation, who know how to deal with snakes, can only enter under the condition that they have a doctor on their team. Yeah, this is easily one place I'm not heartbroken over never visiting. Number 3, part of New York City. North Brother Island is one of the most popular abandoned places in the entirety of the USA. North and South Brother Islands are a pair of small islands located in New York City's East River between the mainland Bronx and Rikers Island, which is, home to the jail of the same name. According to the New York City Parks Department, which oversees the islands, North Brother Island has about 20 acres of land and South Brother has about 6. The northern part of the island was uninhabited until around 1885, even though a lighthouse was built in 1869. In the mid-1880s, the Riverside Hospital moved there from Blackwell's Island, which is now known as Roosevelt Island. Riverside Hospital had been founded in the 1850s as a smallpox hospital to treat and isolate victims of that disease. Its mission eventually expanded to other quarantinable diseases, initially typhoid and then smallpox and tuberculosis. During the polio epidemic in 1916, Riverside treated numerous patients. The island was also the last refuge to over 1,000 people of the General Slocum, whose passenger ship sank in its waters. Originally developed as a quarantine hospital though, Riverside was home to Mary Mallon, who was more well known as Typhoid Mary. She was an Irish-born American cook believed to have infected between 51 and 122 people with typhoid fever, which caused 3 confirmed deaths, with unconfirmed estimates of as many as like 50. She was the first person in the United States identified as an asymptomatic carrier of the pathogenic bacteria Salmonella typhi, and was forcibly quarantined twice by authorities, the second time for the remainder of her life because she persisted in working as a cook and thereby exposed others to the disease. I can't even make fun of it. I've worked through some crazy rib injuries, colds, and loss of voice when I probably shouldn't have been. Her popular nickname has since become a term for persons who spread disease or other misfortune, not always aware that they are doing so. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, the need for a quarantine hospital in a remote location had declined by the 1930s as public health advances lessened the need to quarantine large numbers of individuals, excluding recent history. Following World War II, the island housed war veterans who were students at local colleges and their families. After the nationwide housing shortage, sort of lessened, the island was once again abandoned until the 1950s when a center opened to treat adolescent addicts. The facility claimed it was the first to offer treatment, rehabilitation, and education facilities to, the young offenders. Spicy spoon juice addicts were confined to this facility and locked in a room until they were clean. Many of them believed they were being held against their will. And staff corruption and cost forced the facility to close in 1963. Nowadays, North Brother Island has a bird sanctuary and is permanently shut for the common people, although special access for scientific purposes can be granted. The islands had long been privately owned, but were purchased by the federal government in 2007 with some funding from the Trust for Public Land and others, and both were given to the city. Number 2, the Doomsday Vault. The world is obviously going to end at some point, but when and how is a very popular subject of debate. I have survived the Y2K hullabaloo and also the big 2012 countdown, but does anyone know the next big date for the end of the world? Let me know in the comments, and also feel free to leave your own end of the world theories. But in 1984, Norgen began storing backup Nordic plant germplasm via frozen seeds in an abandoned coal mine outside of Longyearbyen. 2001, the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture was adopted, and national governments began to ratify the treaty soon afterwards. It established a multilateral system for plant genetic resources that included providing access to the materials and providing mechanisms so that those who use the resources can share any derived benefits. A team led by conservationist Carrie Fowler actively campaigned for the development of the seed vault and approached the Norwegian government. They conducted a feasibility study in 2004 and concluded that Svalbard was an appropriate location for long-term storage. Also in 2004, the ITPGRFA entered into force and created the legal framework for having one international security facility. The FAO Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture endorsed the initiative, and in October of 2004, the Norwegian government committed to fund the seed vault and begin the construction. So sometimes referred to as the Doomsday Vault, the global seed vault in Norway is actually a very important place for all of us. It's a secure backup facility for the world's crop diversity on the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen in the remote Arctic Svalbard archipelago. The seed vault is managed under terms spelled out in a tripartite agreement among the Norwegian government, the Crop Trust, and the Nordic Genetic Resource Center. Norgen for short. The Norwegian government entirely funded the seed vault's approximately 8.8 million USD construction cost. Norway and the Crop Trust pay for operational costs, and storing seeds in the vault is free to depositors. It stores 100 million seeds from all over the world to restore the plant kingdom in case something really bad happens to our planet's vegetation. Opened in 2008, the vault was built to last around 200 years, and it can withstand explosions and earthquakes. Also, since it was placed on the side of a mountain, it will still be above sea level even if all the ice on the planet melts. It's interesting to know that the vault knows no politics. Even North Korea has given it seeds for storage there. Number 1. Area 51. Okay, I didn't mean for it to rhyme, but I love that it did. Area 51 is the common name of a highly classified United States Air Force facility within the Nevada Test and Training Range, located in southern Nevada. A remote detachment administered by Edwards Air Force Base, the facility is officially called Homey Airport or Groom Lake. Details of its operations are not made public, but the USAF says that it's an open training range, and it's commonly thought to support the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapon systems. The USAF and CIA acquired the site in 1955, primarily for flight testing the Lockheed U-2 aircraft. But Area 51 is always wrapped in conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theorists, such as myself, believe that the officials conceal alien evidence at the base. Hey, it's totally off limits to commoners, and even the USA barely acknowledges the existence of the place. It has never been declared like a secret base, but all research and occurrences in Area 51 are top secret or sensitive compartmented information. The CIA publicly acknowledged the base's existence on the 25th of June of 2013 for the first time following a Freedom of Information Act request filed way back in 2005 and declassified documents detailing its history and purpose. Now, there have been many reports over the years that kind of confirm theories that alien and UFO paraphernalia are housed there, and that's something I think I'll always believe until proven otherwise. At the end of the day, the gates of Area 51 will be a populous tourist destination until civilians can be allowed in or the public learns more. And that brings us to the end of our time, and I think I'm good with not traveling to any of these places. If y'all enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you weren't already, hit the bell for more forbidden goodness from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.